Hey everyone, Cassius here, welcoming you back to the Shakespeare Minute. As promised, today is villains 11 and 10, Regan and Goneril from King Lear. These are the two older daughters of King Lear out of his three daughters, and they prove themselves to be hypocritical, lying, political connivers from their very first scene. When King Lear, in the beginning of the play, poses to his daughters, "Which of you shall we say doth love us most?" Goneril and Regan are willing to say what they have to get the prize. However, Cordelia isn't playing that game, and what makes this a very fraught setup is that Lear, in his past days, loved Cordelia the most, or at least that's what people seem to think, that Cordelia, she has these two suitors vying for her, she's so wonderful and everyone loves her, including King Lear, but now he seems to be reverting back to a rather bizarre mindset, this harsh, politicized mindset that maybe shows he doesn't quite know who he is or what he's supposed to be anymore. This frightens everybody, but no one more than Regan and Goneril, who, while they win that battle, are afraid of losing the war for the kingdom and for their father's affection. They know that if he can switch that quickly from Cordelia to them, that he could switch right back. And they know that since he is the king, even if he has given up his lands, him doing that would cause the country to be plunged into turmoil. And they're a bit afraid of that in a very defensive, angry manner.
Pray, let us hit together. If our father carry authority with such dispositions as he bears, this last surrender of his will but offend us.
We shall further think of it.
We must do something. Under the heat.
And to defend against this possibility, they go so far as to take their aging, out-of-it father, who possibly has dementia at this point, and turn him out into the storm rather than accommodate him and allow him to maintain any of his former power. It is a harsh, personal power play that goes beyond the political to harm who we start to view as a more or less innocent man, at least in his old age, but they're having none of it. As with many of these villains on this list, the minute they get power, they become defensive about it. And more to the point, they also start fighting with each other, which goes to show how vicious their mentality truly is. Goneril, the older, seems to take a bit more charge here. Despite her husband being a fairly meek and gentle man, seems to have the upper hand in turning everything into this palace of cruelty. She's the first one who kicks their father out, and she sets the tone, telling Regan, "You have to do like I do, or else." And there is a definite implication that Regan has to get with the program, even though it's something she probably already wanted to do. Goneril would stop her if she decided to allow the king to vacation with her, essentially, and give him what he wanted and acquiesce to his demands. Goneril would certainly not be happy about that. The two of them also fight over Edmund, the power-hungry, social-climbing bastard son of the Earl of Gloucester. And the fact that they do this also shows a kind of petty streak to them, and it colors a lot of how they relate to each other. Goneril, when she realizes that her sister is now a widow, says, okay, now she could possibly marry this man because I'm still married, I've got to get rid of my husband immediately, and it just shows how low they're willing to go, which as it turns out is pretty low. They make a pretty good team for most of this, but with Goneril leading the way and Regan having to follow her, it's inevitably going to fall apart, and they do themselves in when everything starts to come to a head in the war, and they can't get what they want, which is unadulterated power, at least when both of them are alive, when Cordelia and the King of France and Edmund are all there. It's too many fronts for them to protect their power, and so they cannot last, and indeed, they don't. They never seem to have any change of heart. There doesn't seem to be a lot of conscience going on here. They are all about protecting what they have. A common theme for these villains, and placing them here at spaces 11 and 10. Their crimes, cruelly dismissing their aging father, fighting over Edmund, potentially with murderous intent, and cruelly abusing the Earl of Gloucester, whose eyes they have put out, etc. They just never lose a chance to be cruel to the people they think could be a threat. Their motivations, pretty clear defensiveness about their position. With that, I round out these two villains, and we are now in the top 10. So get ready for some very scary people here. Till tomorrow, I'm Cassius. Think of the world.
You may fear too far.
Safer than trust too far. I know his heart. And I have writ to my sister. If she sustain him and his 100 knights when I have showed the unfitness,